At 3 months pregnant, my high-ranking official husband Ron Cheng asked me for a divorce. All because my sister-in-law Fay Jyn, who had lost her husband, was also pregnant. Ron Cheng pitied Fay Jyn for having no one to care for her and decided to take her with him to the military base to look after her and the unborn child. Ron Cheng said it was just a temporary divorce and that he would remarry me once Fay Jyn gave birth and was capable of raising the child. In my previous life, I rejected Ron Cheng's proposal and stubbornly clung to my marriage with him. Even to the point of seeking death. Fay Jyn went to the hospital for an abortion. But an accident occurred, resulting in massive bleeding and the deaths of both mother and child. Ron Cheng hated me with a passion when I was 6 months pregnant. He brought people to catch me in bed with a local thug from the village. I was notorious and despised by everyone. And Ronchang successfully divorced me and sent me to labor reform. The days of labor reform were exceptionally harsh. At 8 months pregnant, I went into premature labor due to exhaustion. And both I and the unborn child died in the labor reform camp. Before I could fully recover from the pain and despair of my death, I heard Ron Cheng sincerely proposing a divorce to me. Without the slightest hesitation, I nodded and agreed to Ron Cheng. There's no time like the present. Let's go file for divorce right now. I readily agreed to divorce Roncheng with just one condition. He had to compensate me $500 for child-rearing expenses. Roncheng agreed without hesitation and we immediately went to the civil affairs office. When we got the divorce certificate, he visibly sighed in relief. He probably didn't expect me to agree to the divorce so readily. Feeling a weight lifted off his shoulders, his attitude toward me softened considerably. Lily, don't worry. The divorce is only temporary. Once I've settled Fe and the child, I'll remarry you again. A mocking sneer appeared at the corner of my lips. In my past life, the cruel schemes Ron Cheng devised to avenge Fay Jyn was still vivid in my memory. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cubs. Yet, Ron Cheng was so cruel to me and the child in my womb for Finn. How could I possibly believe a single word he said? In this life, I couldn't wait to stay as far away from him as possible. I ignored Ron Cheng, gripping the divorce certificate tightly in my hand as I strode down the steps. My indifference made Ron Cheng quicken his pace to catch up with me, his tone becoming even gentler than before. Lily, when I'm no longer by your side, you must take good care of yourself and the child. Remember to let me know if you need anything. Seeing Ron Cheng speak to me so tenderly, Fay Jyn, who was waiting outside, became displeased. Her eyes darted around and suddenly she clutched her stomach in pain, squatting down with a grimace. Ouch! My stomach hurts so much. Seeing Fay Jyn complain of stomach pain, Ron Cheng's face was filled with obvious concern. Without another thought for me, he strode over, scooped Fay Jyn up in his arms, and hurried straight to the jeep. Fay Jyn clinging to Ron Cheng's neck flashed a provocative smile at me. Fane was declaring to me that her place in Ron Cheng's heart was far more important than mine. In my previous life, I never knew that Ron Cheng had Fay Jyn in his heart. When he proposed to divorce me and take Fay Jyn to the army base to have a child, I refused to agree, even if it meant death. Ronchang being in the military didn't know Fay Jyn's true character, but I, having spent every day with her, saw it clearly. Fay Jyn is beautiful and enjoys dressing up, making her very popular among the men around her before she married Ron Cheng's younger brother Cheng Jiandong. She had many suitors. Even after marrying Cheng X Jiandong, there were still plenty of people trying to win her favor. In my past life, when Cheng Jiandong wasn't home, I saw Fay Jyn bring other men into the house more than once to cheat on him. So when Cheng Jiandong died in an accident, and Ron Cheng wanted to take care of Fay Jyn and the child in her womb on behalf of Cheng Jiandong, I once reminded Ron Cheng, the child in Fine's womb was unlikely to be Cheng Jiandong's. It might belong to some other man. Ron Cheng didn't believe me and scolded me for making baseless accusations and tarnishing Fay Jyn's reputation. I felt wronged and couldn't understand why Ron Cheng refused to believe me when I was telling the truth. It wasn't until later, when I was framed by Ron Cheng, that I realized Fay Jyn's list of lovers actually included Roncheng as well. That shameless Ron Cheng had already been involved with Fay Jyn long before he mistook the child in Fine's belly as his own. So of course he had to give her status and an explanation. In my past life I was foolish, unable to see the truth, and ended up destroying myself. In this life I voluntarily stepped aside to make way, determined to witness with my own eyes the downfall of those two despicable individuals, Ronchang and Fay Jyn. It took me 2 hours to walk home from the civil affairs office. Just as I was about to reach my doorstep, I spotted a man lurking suspiciously, peering around near my house. With just one glance, I recognized him. Ash Gu, the hoodlum who was caught in bed with me by Ron Cheng in my previous life. What the hell is this bastard doing at my doorstep? What does he want in my past life? I saw Ash Gio and Finn fooling around quite a few times at night. I once suspected that the child in Fay Jyn's belly might be Ash Gu's. I had mentioned this to Ron Cheng before, but Ron Cheng didn't believe me. Later, Fay Jyn passed away due to severe bleeding from a miscarriage, and Ash Ju came to me in a rage, swearing to make me pay with blood. After that, Ash Ju and I were caught in bed by Ron Cheng. Those two bastards, Ash Gio and Ron Cheng, spent their previous lives framing me to avenge Fay Jyn. Those two scumbags were really unusually devoted to their mistress Fay Jyn, weren't they? I wonder if Ash Gio and Ron Cheng know about each other's relationship with Fay Jyn. Logically speaking, they probably don't know, right? A cold smile appeared at the corner of my lips. If Ron Cheng and Ash Ju were to find out they're both Fy Jyn's admirers, I can't imagine the expressions on their faces as I was thinking this. Ash Gio quickly approached with a beaming smile. Sister-in-law Cheng, where have you been? I sneered. What else? Divorce. Of course. Seeing the divorce papers in my hand, Ashgu's eyes flashed with delight. You and Brother Cheng really got divorced? Yep. Ron Cheng had to take care of the child in Finn's belly, so he forced me to divorce. He thought I didn't know about his sneaky schemes, but I saw right through him. Ashu was stunned. What do you mean? What else could it mean? Ron Cheng and that, Fay Jyn are hooking up. I sneered. Fay Jyn isn't just messing around with Ron Cheng. There's also Xiao Zhang from the electric heating plant, Xiao Wang from the boiler factory, Xiaolu from the machine tool plant. I counted on my fingers. That, really has some talent. She's got 7 or 8 men on the side. Who even knows which bastard seed that abomination in her belly belongs to? Ash Ju was initially overjoyed when he saw the divorce papers in my hand, but his face instantly turned green when I started counting off Fay Jyn's many lovers. He always thought he was Fay Jyn's one and only. Always believed the child in Fay Jyn's womb was his. Ash Gio has a decent appearance, but he's idle and doesn't have a penny to his name. So when Fay Jyn got pregnant, he couldn't afford to raise the child with her. He discussed with Fay Jyn and planned to make Ron Cheng the scapegoat. Ash Gio always thought Fay Jyn married Ron Cheng to use him as a means to raise his child. Now that I know about the ambiguous relationship between Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn, how can I not feel heartbroken? In my previous life, he and Ron Cheng blamed me for Fay Jyn's death and plotted against me. This time, I'll make these scoundrels turn on each other like dogs fighting in a kennel. Ash Gio stormed off in a huff. I sneered and went back into the house since I'm already divorced from Ron Cheng. I naturally have to plan for the future. The child in my womb obviously can't stay. I need to get rid of it as soon as possible. Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn are both scum. A pair of ruthless, shameless villains. To avoid repeating past mistakes, I need to plan ahead. I returned to my room, opened the box, took out the few hundred I had saved, and sewed them into the lining of my clothes. Just as I finished sewing the money, Ronchang returned with Fay Jyn. Fane leaned against Roncheng as if she had no bones, mumbling under her breath. She actually reached out and hugged Roncheng when she saw me come out. I can't walk anymore. Carry me back to my room. Roncheng didn't even bother to hide anything now. Right in front of me, he picked up Fay Jyn and carried her to the room. Soon Fay Jyn's kiddish laughter could be heard from inside, and it went on for quite a while. Roncheng finally came out shamelessly saying to me, "Fay is anemic and needs a good tonic. Go buy a chicken right now and make some soup for Fay to drink." After marrying Ron Cheng, I never spent a single cent of his money. All his money went to supporting his mother and younger brother. I thought it was filial piety toward his mother and kindness toward his brother's family. Only now do I realize what filial piety and kindness really meant. He never had me in his heart, treating me as nothing more than a free maid for his family. In my past life, I didn't see Ron Cheng's cruelty until my dying breath. In this life, if he thinks he can use me again, he's dreaming. I looked up at Ron Cheng and calmly extended my hand. "Fine. Give me the money and I'll buy a chicken to nourish Fe Jyn." Ron Cheng was used to bossing me around, never sparing a single cent when paying for tasks. Now I actually dared to ask him for money. Ron Cheng's expression darkened. "Can't you just cover it first?" "I don't have any money." "What about your salary?" "My salary is all spent. After marrying you for 3 years, you haven't given me a single cent. Don't I need to eat and drink? Not to mention your mother constantly finding excuses to ask me for money, food, and drinks. I don't have a money tree. Where would I get the money from?" I looked at Ron Cheng and reminded him word by word. "You promised to give me $500 to support me and the child after the divorce. Give me the money now. Will you?" Ron Cheng's face darkened. "I don't have that much money right now." "Are you going back on your word, Ron Cheng? I've already allowed you to take care of Fe Jyn. But a person can't be so heartless, can they? I'm carrying your flesh and blood. You must give me the money immediately, or else." I didn't continue. But Ron Cheng should know what my "or else" implied. Exposing his secret affair with Fay Jyn would be no small matter. He wants to keep his current position, and to secure wealth and honor, he must first stabilize me. In the end, Ron Cheng reluctantly gave me $500, then stormed off to the market with a dark expression to buy a chicken. When Fay Jyn found out that Ron Cheng had given me $500 to keep me quiet, she wasn't happy. She no longer pretended to be weak in bed and angrily came to confront me. "Lily Lee, how dare you take Ron's money? Why wouldn't you know?" I sneered at Fay Jyn. "This is what Ron Cheng owes me. If he doesn't want me to expose your affair, of course, he has to pay me hush money." Fe Jyn didn't expect me to tear down this facade. She froze for a moment, then smiled nonchalantly. "So, you already knew. Since you're aware, I won't hide it from you anymore." Fay Jyn said triumphantly. "Ran loves me. I might as well tell you. I spent my wedding night with Ran instead of Chong Jandong." Shameless. I never expected these two despicable people to be so disgusting. Seeing me angry, Fe Jyn became even more delighted and spoke without restraint, elaborating in detail about her illicit affair with Ron Cheng. Chong Jandong was drunk and passed out at the time. I couldn't stand taking care of him. So my mother-in-law, Wang Body, called Ron Cheng to help. Then right next to Chong Jandong, we embraced each other. No wonder Ron Cheng has been so attentive to Fay Jyn, insisting on divorcing me no matter what to give Fay Jyn and the child in her belly a home. Ron Cheng had long been involved with Fay Jyn, probably thinking he was the only man in her life. Right? His love for Fay Jyn was so genuine that even when I told him about her affair with Ash Gio and other unclear relationships with men, he refused to believe it. I hope he gets his wish in this lifetime and stays locked with Finn forever, never to part. As I was thinking this, Fay Jyn's gaze fell on my stomach. "Lily Lee, since you already know everything, stop dreaming about remarrying Ran. Get rid of the child in your belly." "On what grounds?" I stared coldly at Fay Jyn. "Ron Cheng said he would remarry me. Why should I get rid of the child?" "You still dare to dream of keeping the child?" Fine chuckled. "Let me tell you. Lily Lee Ran just told me he will never let your child be born. Within 3 days, he'll make sure the baby in your belly meets a merciless end." I firmly believe Fay Jyn's words. After all, in my past life, Ron Cheng showed not the slightest mercy toward me or the child in my womb, since he still intends to harm me as he did in my past life. Then I won't hold back either. An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. I'll settle the grudges of 2 lifetimes at once. When Ron Cheng returned, he not only brought back an old hen, but also his mother, Wang Body. He was in the kitchen slaughtering a chicken when Wang Body came to my room looking for me, her triangular eyes glaring at me sideways. I'm sick and need to go to the provincial capital for treatment. I need 500 yuan. Give me the money right now. Ever since I married Ron Cheng, Wang Body has never shown me a kind expression. She believes I'm not sweet-tongued enough, dull and wooden, unworthy of her son, Ron Cheng. No matter how much money I gave her or how many times I bought her food, Wang Body always looked at me with disdain. Wang Body's favorite is Fay Jyn, who is sweet-talking and good at superficial gestures. Fay Jyn has never given Wang Body a single penny, nor helped her with anything. All she did was sweetly call Wang Body mom a few times and give her a shoulder rub. And Wang Body would be overjoyed, happily praising Fay Jyn everywhere for being filial. Wang Body still thinks of me as the foolish Lily Lee from before, who endured all her mistreatment without complaint. I coldly replied, "Old lady, if you want money, go ask your son Ron Cheng or your daughter-in-law Fay Jyn. Why come to me? An outsider? I'm divorced from your son. I have no obligation to give you a single cent." Never expecting I would refuse her, Wang Body started cursing fully. "You jinx. How dare you talk back to me? Who gave you the nerve to ask Ran for $500? Take a look in the mirror. Do you even deserve that much money? Whether I deserve those $500 isn't for you to decide. Isn't it because your eldest son Ron Cheng and your youngest daughter-in-law Fay Jyn couldn't wait to be together? So they paid me to keep my mouth shut. You're talking nonsense. How dare you? You damned scoundrel. Slander my son. I swear I'll slap you to death." I abruptly stood up. "I advise you to watch your mouth. Push me too far and I'll shout it out in the yard. Won't the neighborhood aunties and grannies have some juicy gossip for their tea time then?" Wang Bowie was hopping mad. But she also knew about Ron Cheng and Finn's scandal and understood that family shame shouldn't be aired in public. After shooting me a vicious glare, she turned and left unwillingly. Ron Cheng brought Wang Body back, hoping to get the money he gave me returned. Unexpectedly, they failed. Those 3 despicable people wouldn't let it go. Wang Body, acting all high and mighty, came again to order me to the kitchen to tend the fire and boil chicken soup. Meanwhile, she and Ron Cheng, mother and son, hid in the room with Fe Jyn, whispering and scheming. I stealthily made my way around the back of the house to eavesdrop by the rear window where I heard Wang Bowie's venomous voice. "Lily Lee knows about your affair with Fa since she dares to demand such an exorbitant sum from you. I fear she won't let this rest. We might as well settle this matter once and for all." "Yes. I'm also worried Lily Lee will keep causing trouble. We need to find a way to end this for good." Finn chimed in agreement. Ron Cheng's voice was low. "I originally thought if she didn't make trouble and stayed obedient like before, I'd keep her around. But now that she knows, we can't let her stay. We'll act tonight. Do you already have a plan?" Ron Cheng nodded to prevent her from exposing our affairs first. "Well, strike preemptively by finding her a lover. I've even prepared the drugs needed for the operation." They actually planned to frame and slander me just like in my past life. With a cold smile on my lips, I turned and went back to the kitchen. The aroma of chicken soup filled the entire kitchen. I lifted the lid and picked out the 2 chicken thighs, wings, and the best pieces of breast meat. 2 large bowls filled to the brim with meat. I sat in the kitchen eating until my mouth was greasy and my heart content. After finishing the meat and downing 2 more large bowls of chicken soup, Ron Cheng and Wang Body finally came to the kitchen after settling their discussion. Wang Body asked hypocritically, "Is the chicken soup ready? If it is, we can start eating." As she spoke, she noticed the chicken bones on the floor. Wang Body immediately rushed over, lifted the pot lid, and turned red with anger upon seeing the pot full of bones and scraps. "You greedy little __. With so many people in the house, you don't even know how to be considerate." She cursed and came at me to hit me. But I didn't indulge her either. As Wang Bowie lunged at me, I sidestepped and kicked the stool toward her. Wang Bowie missed and fell to the ground, her front teeth hitting the stool I had kicked. She let out a piercing scream. Her front teeth flew out along with a spray of blood, and Wang Body wailed in pain. When had she ever suffered such a loss? With her breath leaking through her gaping mouth, she slurred her words as she ordered Ron Cheng. Ron, beat this little wretch to death for me. Do it now. Ron Cheng didn't act. Not because he didn't want to, but for the sake of the plan that night. Clenching his fists, he glared at me and roared. Lai Li, you've gone too far. How dare you hit my mom if anything happens to her? Don't blame me for what comes next. After his outburst, he helped Wang Body out and Fay Jyn, hearing the commotion, came over as well. Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn supported Wang Body on either side as they helped her walk out. As she walked, Wang Body wailed at the top of her lungs, her mouth gaping where 2 teeth were missing. She accused me of neglecting the family, constantly running off who knows where every couple of days. She even claimed I frequently scolded her, made her suffer, starved her. And today I even laid hands on her. This family of scoundrels is trying to preemptively frame me with false accusations. This way, when they scheme against me tonight, no one will sympathize with me since they're ruthless. I won't be righteous either. Tonight, we'll see who comes out on top. At 700 p.m., Ron Cheng and the other 2 finally returned. I sat quietly in the room waiting. And half an hour later, Ron Cheng pushed open the door. In his hands was a bowl of brown sugar eggs. And his face bore a rare smile. Hungry. I made this for you. I know the divorce has been hard on you, Lily. There's really nothing between me and Fay Jyn. I only took care of her for Janong's sake. Don't listen to the nonsense from outsiders. And my mom has always been like that. Don't take her temper to heart. If it were the Lily Lee from my past life, these words would have moved me to tears and filled me with overwhelming emotion. But I've already died once. I looked coldly at Ron Cheng. It wasn't someone else who told me about your affair. It was Fay Jyn herself. She said, you fooled around right next to Cheng X Jandong on your wedding night. Ron Cheng hadn't expected Fay Jyn to reveal such a private matter. His face stiffened quickly. He forced a smile. Fay was talking nonsense. Don't believe her. I'm not that kind of person. Why would she talk nonsense? No one could be foolish enough to slander themselves. Right? Fine even claimed the child in her belly is yours. How is that possible? I'll go ask her what's going on. Afraid I might say something even harsher. Ron Cheng eagerly handed me the brown sugar and egg he was holding. Lily, have some eggs first after you eat. I'll bring Fay over to explain properly to you. So he needs to see me eat this bowl of specially prepared brown sugar eggs to feel at ease. I took the brown sugar eggs and right in front of Roncheng finished the entire bowl. Roncheng looked relieved, picked up his bowl and chopsticks and left. Before going, he thoughtfully suggested I lie down and rest if I felt tired. I obediently took off my shoes and lay down on the bed. A cold smile flickered across Ron Cheng's lips as he closed the door behind him. Half an hour later, a furtive figure quietly pushed open my slightly ajar door. About another quarter of an hour passed, and Wang Body, missing a front tooth, tiptoed to my door to eavesdrop. Hearing the creaking sound of the bed frame struggling under the weight from inside, a slight smirk of triumph flashed across her face. Wang Body turned and ran outside, muttering venomously as she went. You little __. I'll teach you to be so arrogant. Just wait. Tonight will be your end. The hatred fueled by her 2 missing teeth made Wang Bowie run as if her feet didn't touch the ground. Soon, she knocked on the door of their neighbor, Uncle Zhang's house on the left. Uncle, my Fa isn't feeling well in her stomach. Zhang isn't home right now. He's out on business. Could you and Auntie please help take Fay to the hospital for a checkup? Uncle Zhang naturally agreed without hesitation. Wang Body not only called Uncle Zhang and Auntie Zhang, but also used the excuse of the dark night and insufficient manpower to gather 4 or 5 neighboring families. A group of over 10 people quickly followed Wang body into the house. But she wasn't in a hurry to take them to send Fay Jyn to the hospital. Instead, she turned and came to my door, knocking heavily a few times. Lily Li Fei has a stomach ache and needs to go to the hospital. Bring out a military coat for Fate to wear. Without waiting for my response, she pushed the door open. And as it swung wide, Wang body let out a shriek like a screaming chicken. Who is this? How could there be a man in your bed? Lily Li. Are you cheating on my own behind his back? You shameless wretch. How could you be so brazen? Cursing, she lunged forward and yanked open the bulging blanket on the bed, expecting to find an extra man in my bed. She instead discovered not only no additional man, but also that I was nowhere to be seen. Wang body stood frozen in place, unable to explain herself. The aunties Zhang, Lu, and Jiao, who had been following her with gleeful anticipation, gasped in unison when they saw the large chest beneath the quilt. Exchanging glances, they spoke as one. What did you just say? That Lai Li was having an affair. Did we hear that right? This Wang body was at a complete loss as to how things had turned out this way. It was she who personally let the person in. Watching Ash Gu and even hearing the sound of the bed creaking. So why is Ash Gu now nowhere to be found? And why have I also disappeared? Scratching her head in confusion, unable to find an explanation. At that very moment, my piercing voice came from outside. I can't go on living. Ron Cheng. You heartless monster. How could you cheat with Fay Jyn? Are you even human? The crowd gathered at my door to watch the commotion rushed over in unison upon hearing my cries. Fay Jyn's door was wide open, and I, wielding a rolling pin, was frantically beating the meticulous Roncheng inside her room. Roncheng was covered in blood from my blows. Yet, he clung to Fay Jyn like a dog, refusing to let go. As I relentlessly pummeled Roncheng, I screamed. Weren't you supposed to be out handling business? Instead, you ended up in Finn's room. Roncheng, you heartless, ungrateful beast. Are you even human? How can you face Chang X Jandong like this? And Finn, you despicable wretch. I treated you with such sincerity. When your husband died, I pitied you, brought you food and drink, even gave you money. And in return, you shamelessly hooked up with that scoundrel Ronchang. Doesn't your conscience ache at all? Everyone, take a good look. These two shameless creatures, Chang and Finn, are utterly heartless. This definitely isn't their first time. How wretched my fate is. Their whole family is inhuman. They've treated me like a beast of burden, living off me, eating my food, drinking my drinks, and now they have the audacity to betray me like this. Witnessing this scene firsthand and hearing my tearful accusations, the onlookers began murmuring among themselves. How outrageous. His wife is still pregnant? How could he do something so beastly exactly? With so many women out there, why must he go after someone in the family? And to carry on so brazenly right under his wife's nose. It's utterly disgusting, morally bankrupt. Absolutely devoid of conscience. How can these two be so shameless? With so many people around, they still wouldn't stop. Ron Cheng kept letting out agonized moans. At first, everyone thought it was from the beating I gave him. But after a long time, when he and Fay Jyn still showed no signs of separating, someone finally exclaimed in shock. Is this locked? Oh my God, eye-opening. Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn let out agonizing screams. While I continued my tearful accusations, Ron Cheng kept saying he wanted to help his deceased brother take care of his widowed wife. He gave all his salary and allowances to Fay Jyn and even planned to take her with him when he was stationed with the army. Today, he forced me to divorce him, saying he'd remarry me after Fay Jyn gave birth to the child. Like a fool, I believed him. But now he's openly carrying on with Fine. It's only been 3 months since Chang X Jandong died. And Fay Jyn's pregnancy is just 2 months along. Needless to say, the child must be Ron Chengs. Right? That might actually be true. Even a vicious tiger doesn't harm its own cubs. If he's neglecting his own wife and children to rush and take care of someone else's, I'd bet my life that the child isn't his. Poor Chong Jandong. How long has it been since he passed? His body isn't even cold yet. And Ron Cheng is already acting so inhumanely. I strongly suspect Chong Jandong was murdered by them. After all, illicit affairs have led to deadly consequences since ancient times. That makes sense. Wang Body brought a group of people to watch the spectacle, pointing and making all sorts of comments at the visibly distressed Roncheng and Fay Jyn. Over there, Wang Body was as frantic as an ant on a hot pan, shouting herself hoarse to drive people away. But these were people she had gone to great lengths to deceive into coming. How could they leave when such a scene was unfolding? Not only were the people she had called unwilling to leave, but more and more were also arriving, drawn by the commotion to watch the spectacle. The Cheng family had never been this lively before, packed to the brim with people. Even so, Ron Cheng had no intention of separating from Fe Jyn. Watching the shameless display between the two, the murmurs and tsk-tisk sounds of onlookers could be heard from miles away. With things having come to this, Wang Body knew there was no turning back. Seeing Ron Cheng covered in blood from my beating, she lunged at me like a mad woman to stop me. Stop. You stop right now. Of course. I wouldn't stop. This was the hatred of 2 lifetimes. I used every ounce of strength to continue pummeling Ron Cheng. Seeing her son covered in blood from head to face, Wang Body, driven by maternal instinct, rushed over and shoved me hard. Exhausted from the fight, I seized the moment to let out a sharp cry and collapsed to the ground, clutching my stomach in fignet agony. The baby. My baby won. The neighbors immediately rushed me, bleeding, to the hospital. But of course, the baby couldn't be saved. After all, I had already taken abortion pills in advance. From the moment I was reborn, I had no intention of keeping this child. Last night, everything was a conspiracy orchestrated by the Roncheng family to trap me. But it was also my carefully planned counterattack. After overhearing Ron Cheng's plan to use extreme measures against me, just like in my previous life, I immediately came up with a plan to deal with it. I deliberately ate the best chicken thighs, waiting for Wang Body to lose her temper. In this household, the best food and drinks never come to me. It's always Roncheng, Fay Jyn and Wang Body who enjoy the finest treatment. I knew Wang Body would be furious and curse at me when she saw that I had eaten all the chicken thighs and breasts. I want to provoke Wang Body to make her suffer a small punishment so I can carry out my plan against those 3, __. I succeeded. Wang Body, furious and out of control, confronted me and I knocked out 2 of her front teeth. Ron Cheng acted decisively to tarnish my reputation and set me up for the evening, deliberately supporting Wang Body with Fay Jyn while shouting insults all the way to make sure everyone knew, and I was waiting for exactly this time gap. Ronchang and Fay Jyn helped Wang Body to see the doctor and I immediately went to Fay Jyn's room while hiding under the window eavesdropping. I saw clearly that Ron Cheng handed the medicine intended for me to Fay Jyn, who then placed it in the drawer by the bed. After replacing the medicine Ron Cheng had prepared to use against me, I proceeded with the first step of my plan, that was to scheme against Fay Jyn. After Fay Jyn became pregnant, Ron Cheng cherished the baby in her belly dearly, preparing milk powder for her every night. I opened the milk powder can and mixed the drug powder into it. I believe Fay Jyn will prepare the milk powder to drink at night. Once she drinks the tampered milk, there will be an unexpected surprise waiting for her and Ron Cheng. After adding the substance to the milk powder and placing the fake substance back in the drawer, I picked up a few bricks and returned to my room, waiting for nightfall. He Jianghua and his 2 companions went to the hospital to discuss the details before returning home. Unaware that the medicine had been swapped, Roncheng took the powder I had replaced and made me a bowl of sweet egg soup. I ate the sweet egg soup right in front of Roncheng. Seeing me consume it, his heart finally settled. He was waiting for me to disgrace myself like in my previous life, to be defiled by Ashji and caught in the act in public to avoid suspicion. After confirming I had fallen into the trap, Roncheng planned to excuse himself and step out for a while. Wait until the commotion starts before coming back. But when he went to say goodbye to Fay Jyn, he ended up getting entangled by her. Fay Jyn, who had consumed something they prepared themselves, couldn't control herself from flirting with Roncheng. Roncheng was never a decent person to begin with. After being seduced by Fe Jyn, he harbored a sense of luck and decided to enjoy himself for a while first. He planned to leave through Fe Jyn's window once Wang Body brought people to make a scene. To his surprise, everything turned out differently than he had imagined. I had been prepared all along. And as Ashgu entered, I raised the brick I had ready and struck his head with a heavy blow. Ashgu collapsed to the ground without uttering a sound. I despised him, this accomplice, with every fiber of my being. I lifted the brick in my hand and aimed a forceful blow at Ashgu's lower body. Ashgu's lower body was smashed beyond recognition. Needless to say, he would never function as a man again in this lifetime. When Wang Body came to eavesdrop, I heard her footsteps and deliberately made the bed creak to make her think her scheme had succeeded. While Wang Body went out to call for help, I dragged Ashgu out of my room and dumped him by the outhouse. After finishing all this, I quickly returned to find Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn already engaged in a heated battle. Perhaps even heaven couldn't bear to witness their shamelessness. The two scoundrels were startled when I caught them in bed with my rolling pin. The terrified Fay Jyn locked Ron Cheng, who was trying to escape, and just like that they became a spectacle for everyone to see. One witnessing Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn's shamelessness firsthand and then seeing me miscarry because of it. The neighbor who took me to the hospital felt deeply sorry for me and kept comforting me along the way. Upon arriving at the hospital, I was taken to the operating room. The doctor performed a dilation and curettage procedure on me. Meanwhile, Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn were also rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Such a massive scandal was truly a once-in-a-century event, and news of it spread throughout the entire county. It is said that the scandal between Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn spread like wildfire, attracting countless followers. By the time the two were sent to the hospital, they were carried on a stretcher covered with a white cloth, followed by a crowd of hundreds of onlookers. Such a spectacle was truly unprecedented. Rumor has it that after several doctors consulted, it took tremendous effort to finally separate Ron Cheng and Fe Jyn. I stepped out of the operating room and everywhere there were people. They were discussing the incident. First time hearing about it. My goodness. Completely naked. Exactly. I heard it was the elder brother and his sister-in-law. Of course. It's the family next to mine. The man is an army officer, usually putting on such a respectable front. Who would have guessed is full of debauchery in private? I heard the child in the woman's belly is his, not his deceased brother's. That Fay Jyn woman is notorious for being promiscuous. The child in her belly definitely isn't her late husband's. Whether it's her brother-in-law's is another matter. After all, she's had countless men on the side. You know what they say. Illicit affairs often lead to tragedy. Could it be that the younger brother was killed by those two adulterers? Quite possible. Rumor has it their shameless affair was known all along by his mother, Wang Body. And that Wang Body is no saint either. She even tried to frame her pregnant daughter-in-law last night. The whole scandal blew up when Wang Body brought people home to expose those two despicable creatures. Yes. I heard about it, too. Apparently, Wang Body used the excuse of taking her younger daughter-in-law to the hospital to call the neighbors for help. Once inside, she went straight to the elder daughter-in-law's room, flung the door open, and started screaming that the elder daughter-in-law was cheating. But turns out the elder daughter-in-law wasn't even in the room. That family is just awful. Good thing the elder daughter-in-law was alert, or she would have fallen right into their trap. By the way, I heard the troublemaker Ashgu was found unconscious near the outhouse covered in blood. Do you think this has something to do with him? Absolutely. Ashgu and that Fay Jyn have been involved for a while now. Could it be that Fay Jyn, Ron Cheng, and Wang Body set Ashu up together? The Gu is such a powerful clan, not one to be trifled with. If they really schemed against Ashgu like this, the Gu family will definitely stand up for Ashgu. Listening to the chatter, I smiled faintly without a moment's rest and immediately dialed the military's whistleblower hotline to report Ron Cheng for inappropriate relationships with women. After receiving my report, the military promised to investigate the matter promptly. Only then did I return to the hospital room to rest. I knew that with such a big commotion last night, even if Ron Cheng had all the power in the world, he wouldn't be able to hide it. I just didn't expect there was still a surprise waiting for me. A neighbor, Auntie Zhang, who came to visit me, told me an unexpected piece of news. Lily Ron Cheng was beaten again right after coming out of the operating room. I secretly rejoiced but kept a straight face. Who hit him? Who else? It was the Gu family that hoodlum mash goose people came and beat him upright in the hospital ward, broke 3 bones. Even knocked out one of his eyeballs. What was the reason this time? I feigned surprise and asked. Aunt Zhang sighed at my naive expression. You silly girl. You'd still be counting the money after being sold. But you're lucky. Heaven is watching over you. Aunt Zhang vividly recounted to me. Ashgu's family said that last night Fe Jyn went to see Ashju. No one knows what she said to him, but after Ashju left with her, he never returned. It wasn't until this morning that he was found unconscious near the outhouse outside your home. The Gu family immediately rushed Ashgu to the hospital for emergency treatment. His life was saved, but is now a broken man. His lower body was completely smashed. When Ashgu woke up, he was in unbearable pain and confessed everything to his family about his secret with Fay Jyn. Aunt Zhang's face was full of disdain. That Fay Jyn wasn't just involved with Ron Cheng. She had also been carrying on with Ashgu for a long time. Ashgu thought the child in Fe Jyn's belly was his own. So, he obeyed her every command. Last night, Fay Jyn came to Ashgu and said, you were against her. And she wanted Ashgu to rape you to vent her anger. But as soon as Ashgu sneaked into your room, someone knocked him out. Lily, was it you who knocked out Ashgu? Of course. I wouldn't admit it. Certainly not. Last night, after eating the sweet egg soup Roncheng sent me, I had an urgent need to pee and kept running to the bathroom. As you know, pregnant women always need to pee frequently. That's right. Sister Zhang nodded in agreement. When I was pregnant, I also had to go to the bathroom several times a night. I continued. When I came back from the bathroom and passed by Fay Jyn's room, I heard strange noises. I thought it was odd. Isn't Fay Jyn's husband dead? Who was she within the room? So, I leaned in to listen. And that's when I heard Ron Cheng's voice. I was furious and grabbed a rolling pin to catch them in the act. So, that's what happened. You were lucky that Ashgu was lured by Fay Jyn to set you up. The one who knocked him out must have been Ron Cheng. How could a pregnant woman like you have that much strength? Aunt Zhang sympathized with me and believed my words wholeheartedly. The Gu family, after hearing Ashgu's account of the incident, unanimously concluded that Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn had set Ashgu up. The Gu is not one to be trifled with. So they went straight to confront Ron Cheng. Aunt Zhang told me that several strong and capable young men from the Gu family went after Roncheng, breaking several of his bones. He screamed in agony and even his eyeball was burst. Fay Jyn didn't escape unscathed either. Upon learning that Ron Cheng had been beaten, she tried to flee, blocked by the Gu. They did not go easy on her. The main culprit. After a brutal beating, Fay Jyn suffered heavy bleeding, lost the child, and had her uterus removed, leaving her unable to bear children for life. This is the best news I could have hoped for. And I am overjoyed. Next comes the military's punishment for Ron Cheng. He wasn't scheming to divorce me so he could fly off into the sunset with Fay Jyn. Let's see if they can still choose each other and stay together when the military's punishment comes down. The military investigation team arrived very quickly, showing up the very next day. Ron Cheng and Fay Jyn's affair is now common knowledge. So, the investigation team basically had no trouble gathering all the evidence. The military leadership did not tolerate Ron Cheng's behavior and directly dismissed him. It said that when Ron Cheng woke up and learned about the military's punishment, he let out a howl and fainted again. I was discharged from the hospital 3 days later. When I returned home, I found Wang's body actually cooking in my kitchen. After not seeing her for 3 days, Wang's body looked as if she had aged more than 10 years. There were many scratches on her face, clearly caused by someone clawing at her. It seems the Gu family didn't go easy on Wang's body either. Seeing me return, Wang's body stood up with venomous hatred, pointing at me. "You blackheart. Rotten. Lunged little __. How dare you come back? Just wait till I deal with you." She vented all her accumulated grievances on me, trying to regain her lost face through me. How could I let her have her way? I grabbed Wang's body's hair and slapped her across the face. Wang's body howled in pain as I beat her. I dragged her by the hair and threw her out the door. "This is my home. If you dare step foot in here again, I'll beat you every time I see you." Wang's body was left bruised and bleeding from her nose and mouth. Having never suffered such humiliation before, she screamed about calling the police. When they arrived, I showed them my divorce certificate from Ron Cheng, and I told the police that the house was left to me by my parents and had absolutely nothing to do with Ron Cheng or Wang's body. The scandal about Roncheng was spreading everywhere. So, naturally, the police knew I was the victim. They sympathized with my situation and reprimanded Wang's body, ordering her, my former mother-in-law, to leave my residence immediately. After being beaten, Wang's body slunk away in disgrace. I packed up Wu and Fay Jyn's belongings and threw them all into the trash heap. I've already taken my revenge. Jiao and Ron Cheng are both no good. I didn't harm them, yet they still plotted against me. This time they suffered a heavy loss at my hands and will surely seek to retaliate. As the saying goes, a cornered dog will jump over a wall. And another warns, one must always guard against others to avoid being targeted for revenge by Gu and Ron Cheng. It's best not to stay here any longer. I made a decisive decision to sell my house and quit my job to leave here and head south. I asked for 3,000 for the house and just 1,000 for the job. Because the prices were extremely low, someone quickly reached an agreement with me. On the very day I got the money, I bought a train ticket and left. I went to the southern city of Shenzhen, just as the spring breeze of reform and opening up began to blow. With the money I had, I started a clothing business. At first, I just set up a street store. But later I moved into a storefront. Within just 3 years, I owned 10 stores and became a boss. I saw Aunt Zheng, my neighbor, again on a late autumn evening. After dinner, I came out of the restaurant ready to drive away when I heard someone calling my name. Lily. Lily Lee. I turned around and saw Aunt Zheng, whom I hadn't seen in years. Aunt Zheng had gained some weight and happily came over to hold my hand. "Is it really you? You've made a fortune and become so young and beautiful. I saw you earlier but didn't dare to recognize you." Aunt Zheng had once helped me, and being a grateful person, I treated her to a meal. She said the factory had shut down and she came here to find work. My shop also needed help, so I asked Aunt Zheng if she'd like to assist. Aunt Zheng eagerly agreed. And during the meal, she told me what had happened after I left. Half a month after I left, Ron Cheng was kicked out of the hospital because he couldn't pay the fees. He still had the audacity to think he could live in my house, only to return and find it had long since changed hands. With me nowhere to be found, Ron Cheng had no choice but to slink back to his hometown with Wang's body in disgrace. Dismissed from the military, jobless and blind in one eye, he couldn't find work anywhere and had no option but to return to farming. Unable to cope with such a drastic fall from grace, Ron Cheng became extremely volatile, frequently berating Wang's body and sometimes even resorting to violence. Knowing he couldn't return to the military or strut around like he used to, Ron Cheng pinned all his hopes on Fine. He believed he had given so much for Fay Jyn, that his devotion was genuine and that Fay Jyn should reciprocate his feelings in kind. Ron Cheng planned to live together with Fay Jyn. But when he went to see her, he was met with a cold rejection. Fay Jyn had previously lowered herself to Ron Cheng because she coveted his status. But now that Ron Cheng is blind, disabled, and jobless, he means nothing to her. Fay Jyn simply ignored Ronchang, and when he pestered her too much, she told him the harsh truth. Fe Jyn said Ronchang didn't even know which fling of hers he was, and that she only took a liking to him for a life of luxury. Now that Roncheng has lost his job, how is he supposed to support her? Not to mention Ron Cheng was blind in one eye, which disgusted her at the very sight. Fay Jyn also told Ron Cheng that the child she was carrying wasn't Xinjiang was at all. It was Ash Goose. Ron Cheng was so furious that he beat Fay Jyn severely and forced her to leave with him. While this commotion was in full swing, the Gu arrived. Ash Geo became a __, and the Gu family demanded that the instigator Fine take responsibility for Oshgu's remaining life. Compared to Ron Cheng, who lost an eye, Fay Jyn chose the physically intact Ash Ju after being abandoned by Fay Jyn and beaten by the Gu. A resentful Ron Cheng returned to the countryside with Wang body. Everyone thought the matter was over. But who would have known that half a month later, Ron Cheng would sneak into Oshgu's house with a butcher's knife. Ash Geo and Fay Jyn were hacked to death by him on the spot. It said that blood flowed from the house all the way outside, staining the ground in an extremely horrifying scene. Ron Cheng didn't flee and turned himself in, quickly receiving a death sentence. He was executed by firing squad within half a year of being captured. I had already anticipated this outcome. After all, someone as utterly vicious and devoid of morality as Ron Cheng is capable of anything. I'm familiar with the saying about a cornered beast will do anything. I've already died once at Ron Cheng's hands and don't want any more accidents to prevent Ron Cheng, who might turn into a drowning dog, from seeking revenge on me. I left home. Now that Ron Cheng, Ash Geo, and Fe Jyn are all dead and gone, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. With these rotten people out of the picture, I'm going to fully enjoy the life that belongs to me. I will definitely be happier than in my previous life. And I will surely find my own happiness.